Since returning to the village, Bear has found it difficult to fully accept that what he endured was abuse. Years of intense manipulation left him convinced that Celia was saving vulnerable people, and that Ray was someone he could trust as a friend. Paddy Kirk has repeatedly tried to help his father understand the truth about his past, but he recently realized that Bear would never truly recover without professional support. Charles Anderson then arranged for Lucy to come to the village. Having survived exploitation herself, Lucy understood exactly how to handle Bear during their session. She carefully attempted to guide him towards recognizing Ray for what he really was, though the process proved challenging. Bear's struggle was made worse by disturbing visions of Ray. Each time Lucy spoke honestly, Ray would appear in Bear's imagination and undermine her words. A turning point came when Bear spoke about his fellow captive and friend, Anya, who died because Celia and Ray failed to provide her with vital medication for her illness. Sharing the truth about Anya's death helped Bear begin to see that Ray had never been his ally. Everything shifted when Lucy described Bear as a good man. Crushed by the strain of hiding his deadly secret, Bear broke down and admitted to killing the man who had held him captive for months. The episode concluded with a devastated Paddy watching as his father was placed into a police car. After everything Bear has already suffered, his ordeal is far from finished. Describing Ray's death as poetic justice, actor Joshua Richards recently spoke about the next chapter of Bear's storyline, revealing that it will begin with questioning by D.S. Walsh. "It creates another moral crisis," he explained. "This isn't the end of the nightmare. The nightmare continues." Hinting at what viewers can expect next, Joshua said that the investigating officer is especially relentless and determined not only to solve the case, but to implicate as many people as possible. He added that her focus extends beyond Bear, as she targets Moira, Kane, Paddy, and Dylan, making it clear that she wants everyone held accountable, not just one person. D.S. Walsh will ultimately charge Bear with manslaughter. According to Joshua, Bear feels strongly that he deserves to face punishment for what he's done. He believes that taking a life is always wrong, even if it happens in self-defense. Although he was suffering a mental collapse and was not fully aware of his actions at the time, Bear still feels responsible. Joshua explained that Bear carries a misguided sense of honor, believing he must confess and accept the consequences, despite being unaware of his actions in the moment. He added that this old-fashioned belief, "I did it, so I must pay for it," drives Bear's decisions. While this mindset is flawed and harmful, Bear remains convinced that taking responsibility is the only honorable path. Emmerdale launches a major new phase for Robert as Victoria departs the village. Emmerdale has shown Robert Sugden undergoing a dramatic shift in attitude after he decided not to hand over his share of the farm to the Tates, instead vowing to take back what belongs to his family. Viewers are aware that both Robert and Victoria were pressured into selling their stakes after Joe blackmailed them with evidence proving Victoria was responsible for the death of John. In scenes airing tonight, Victoria was pushed to breaking point when Aaron revealed that the undertakers had delivered John's ashes. Although Robert pleaded with her to reconsider, Victoria was resolute in her decision to leave the village for Portugal with Harry in the hope of starting over somewhere new. Tension between the siblings has been building for some time. Victoria remains deeply angry with Robert after he gave in to Joe's threats and unwillingly agreed to plant evidence intended to connect Moira Dingle to Celia's crimes. While at the Woolpack, Tracy noticed the urn Robert had brought with him. She argued that flushing John's ashes away would be both liberating and fitting, brushing aside Robert's objections. Moments after the ashes were disposed of, Aaron and Victoria walked into the bathroom and were stunned by what Tracy had done. The incident sparked yet another heated clash between Robert and Victoria, though Aaron later stepped in, hoping to ease the situation by encouraging Victoria to view their family from a different perspective. Aaron gave Victoria something to reflect on, reminding her that Robert had always felt overlooked within the family, but had never judged her for the mistakes she made. After considering Aaron's words, Victoria apologized to Robert for disappointing him once again. She expressed regret for not listening to his warnings about John, prompting Robert to urge her to abandon her plans to leave and instead stand her ground and fight for the farm. Victoria dismissed the idea, insisting there was nothing left worth saving, describing their situation as being built on tainted money, painful memories, and the loss of the farm itself. She stressed that her priority now had to be her son, Harry. Admitting that she couldn't be the mother she wanted to be if she stayed, Victoria said her goodbyes, but reassured Robert that she would return one day. Letting her go, Robert told his sister that things would be different when she eventually came back. Later, as Robert wandered through the fields to clear his thoughts, he came across the stone bearing the name Emmerdale Farm, triggering memories of his childhood. When Aaron joined him, Robert made a heartfelt promise that he would restore what they had lost. He vowed that they would rebuild the farm together and ensure that no one would ever be able to take it from them again. Meanwhile, Victoria's actress Isabel Hodgins shared a behind-the-scenes photo on Instagram alongside Robert's on-screen counterpart, confirming the end of her current stint with the caption, "That's a wrap." Hodgins has since begun maternity leave, marking her first extended break from the soap in 2 decades, as she prepares to welcome her first child with her husband, Adam Whitehead. Emmerdale hints at an early fracture for Graham as tensions rise with an unexpected figure. Emmerdale has only just reintroduced Graham Foster to village life, yet his partnership with Joe Tate already appears to be under strain, judging by the events of tonight's episode. In the latest scenes, Victoria Sugden challenged her brother Robert, insisting it was deeply unjust for Moira Dingle to face prison for crimes committed by Celia Daniels. Concerned by Victoria's determination, Robert went to confront Joe, believing she was on the verge of reporting everything to the police. Robert remarked that Victoria's strong moral compass set her apart from everyone else, moments before she arrived herself. Graham soon entered as Joe attempted to convince Victoria that she had no proof to show Moira was being framed. Joe then added that if Victoria truly wanted to involve the police, she might as well admit to killing John too. Graham stepped in, telling Joe to stop provoking her, but Joe ignored him and continued stirring conflict between the siblings. Later, Graham sought Victoria out in the village and apologized for Joe's conduct. When Victoria questioned why Graham had returned, he explained that Joe meant a great deal to him and was like a son. Graham admitted he didn't approve of Joe's actions, but claimed this behavior wasn't typical, adding that he tried to tolerate it while being a calming influence. Victoria, however, clearly wasn't convinced. As she spoke about the chaos and trauma she had endured in the village over the years, Graham suggested she accept Joe's money and use it to build a new life somewhere else. His advice seemed to resonate, as Victoria later went to see Joe and agreed to sign the contract, though she insisted on taking a day to carefully read it before committing. Once the Sugden siblings had left, Graham openly confronted Joe, stating that Victoria never should have been placed in such a situation. He criticized the blackmail, the framing of Moira, and questioned whether this was truly who Joe had become, suggesting he'd learned these tactics from Kim. Joe dismissed the accusation, smugly insisting that his actions were entirely his own. Unimpressed, Graham made his disapproval clear, only for Joe to shut him down by declaring he stopped trying to earn Graham's approval the moment he believed him to be dead. He added that he had no intention of changing for anyone. With tensions clearly escalating, it remains to be seen whether Graham and Joe's already fragile relationship is heading for collapse. Emmerdale airs on weeknights at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available to stream on ITVX.